Good evening, Gearheads. Welcome to Sunday Night with Speed City. This is John Massengale sitting in the studio with my friends Jonathan Green and Les Kaiser. How are you, gentlemen?
All right.
Doing great, doing great.
And we are joined by, we needed some help on our MotoGP.
We just needed help.
So we called a Trans Am driver.
Of course.
And naturally.
Because that's who you think of.
And Adam Andretti is with us over Zoom.
You mean we called our co-commentator?
Well, that's true, Jonathan.
For
Green.
MotoGP.
Adam, how are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic, John. Thank you. And thanks for having me on the show. It's happy to be back.
Fantastic to have you. Well, let me go down what we got on the show tonight because Adam is going to help us through all of this. We're going to talk about IndyCar was at Gateway last night. That was very awesome, especially the finish. We'll talk all about that.
Has it finished, though?
Yeah.
I mean,
2.5.
is it still raining?
Yeah. I'm glad I texted you because I didn't know that it had restarted, and you said, dude, it's already going.
John texted me, going, oh, the Cowboys are on. I was like, well, so's Indy.
So is Indy. I said, crap, I thought they didn't.
They're supposed to finish at 6. How about them Cowboys?
We're going to talk MotoGP like we talked about. We're going to talk a little NASCAR tonight, which we don't do a lot of for whatever reason. There's just too many things. But Kimi Räikkönen and Daniel Kvyat, another F1.
Leave me alone. I've got this.
So
it's a stock car.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. And there's some interesting things that have happened at COTA. Actually, really exciting stuff that happened at COTA we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk some Formula One stories because we're going to talk about the new power unit that they're talking about for 2026. And I will tell you, I'll give you a hint to my feelings on it. I'm worried after what I've read. I'm not happy, and I'm worried about what I've read about the power unit.
Which one are you driving?
I'm
Or are you just worried for the sport?
worried for the sport. I'm worried for. They did not keep their promise to me after what they told me a couple of years ago.
Dear John.
Yeah, exactly.
What did they promise you?
They promised me emotive. And what they've given me, at least from what I've read, does not sound very emotive to me. So,
Give me some noise.
well, no, yeah, noise is good, but we'll talk all about it because there's more than just noise and emotive. So,
Okay, then.
we are going to start with IndyCar. And it was crazy because of the rain delays and all that. But it finished up, I don't know what time last night, about 8:30, 9 o'clock?
Yeah,
something
about
like
9,
that.
yeah.
So it
Something
was.
like that, yeah.
But yeah, Jonathan, what'd you think, man?
I thought it was good. I was amazed that they waited as long as they did, but that's kind of IndyCar's way, isn't it? And they've got the crowd in there. They have come back on a Monday before now when it's almost impossible to put on, but they stayed. They had 2 hours. As a broadcaster, I love it because you really do get some insight because you get to talk to all the drivers and you see how they're hanging out, who hangs out with who. I was interested to see who's Rossi's friends are versus Pagenaud's mates or whatever it might be. But no, all in all, very good. And the cream rises to the top at the right time. This is the closest championship almost in the history of Indy, if not the closest. 7 guys going into yesterday's race, all capable of winning the title, and it's certainly far from over. But Newgarden was a class above everybody.
Hey, there is somebody tied for a record. Now, I don't know, maybe Adam knows more
Scott
details.
Dixon or Power?
I tell you, number of times on pole.
Power.
There you go.
AJ
Ties
Foyt.
Mario, what's his name?
What's his name?
Adam, do you recall his name?
How very dare you? Out of the studio.
Very well. Recall it very, very well. And no, he's it's a great era for IndyCar. It shows because it was the records that are being broken were held by the greats like Mario and AJ Foyt and with these this is the next cycle of great drivers, with Scott Dixon and Will Power and these are legends of IndyCar, make no mistake about it. And it also shows the international flavor of it all and how it continues to be such. And it's like my Uncle Mario has always said it best when they talk about American and Formula One is he said that this because nowhere else in the world has viable racing championship like America has with IndyCar. It's such a great championship to be a part of. And you look at the Formula One guys that come over here, like Romain Grosjean, for example, and how vocal he's been about how happy he is in IndyCar. So I just think it speaks volumes to what they're doing over there to, the captain and how when he's taking the helm of the ship and it would have been done by a better person. I think the sport is reaping the benefits of it. And I think the best are yet to come.
I'm totally with you on that. I'm jazzed by seeing all these legend names come back, and we're seeing somebody that we're comparing to those names legitimately by the numbers, and I love that.
Well, speaking of the next generation, we got some clips from IndyCar, and let's start with the winner, Joseph Newgarden.
Great night. This is a very big night. You got to win. You got to win these races when you're in position to do it. And I wanted to close that one out really badly, really, really badly. And so I was elated that we were able to get back going, and I had the opportunity on the restart. I'm thankful to my teammate. I thought Scott drove me with a tremendous amount of respect. He raced me hard. He wasn't giving me anything, but he just gave me a lot of respect. Chevy, I think can't talk enough about Team Chevy. I thought we had the engine to beat tonight, no doubt. We had great fuel mileage, reliability, power, all the things that we always want. I was pleasantly surprised and very, very satisfied with my car tonight. I thought it was, hooked up to tremendously once we got about midway through the race. It was a bit processional in the first half because literally every car just went to fuel safe. It was like everyone wanted to try and make the three-stop work, and I was surprised at how many people committed. It just seemed like the whole field flipped to it. So there wasn't a lot happening then, but as soon as that caution, when was it, 150, 155, something like that, when it provided that opportunity, to pit again, it changed things up, and it put people on different strategies, and that made it really exciting. And I thought that our car was able to maximize that strategy opportunity. And so I'm real thankful for my team for picking that out. You can't win this race without nailing calls like that and being good in the pits. There's a moment I thought it was slipping away from us too, but I think ultimately they made the right calls and did everything right, and we were able to close it out.
Yeah, it got a little bit processional there when they were all on that fuel-saving strategy. It definitely was like, all right, come on, boys. But after the little break they took, it was freaking awesome. But let's hear the next. We got the next two guys. We got David Malukas. That was
Great story.
That was so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
But let's hear from Malukas now.
Yeah, so Pancho came on the radio, and he was telling me to set him up.
Yep.
Yes,
Your
yeah, and
spotter.
my spotter, yeah, and I was trying so hard, but they know how to do this. He's blocking my line and stuff. I was like, man, this is so hard. But Pancho said try going wide in 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 didn't really work, but they sweeped it, and it felt really good. And I just said, it's two to go. Let's try it, and it worked very well. I had that bit of a clean air on the front right wing, and I was able to get a run. But because the track was just so much quicker with it being so much later, I ended up just hitting limiter in 6th gear, and I couldn't get any more of like a toe or a suck on him. So then we had to go like 2 wide and 1 and 2, and it was a little bit scary going wide there. I was definitely getting some loose ends, but overall, yeah, it was so happy that we managed to go back out, because we knew from practice yesterday, the cooler the track got, the better our car ended up being compared to the others around us. So we knew we had a good car going into it. I knew I had a chance.
Yeah, that move was fantastic, and I want to get y'all's feedback on that. But I want to play Scott McLaughlin because he was the guy that got passed. So let's hear from McLaughlin.
Oops, gave it full jandle.
I think our car was very good, in that afternoon, late evening, when the sun was still out. Once the sun went away, I lost my balance a little bit just in that last stint. Just didn't quite have, what Joseph and for sure David had. David was really strong. He's coming at us really hard. But obviously me and Joseph pulled away there. But I sort of knew I didn't have much. Midway through that stint, and it started building loose, which was making it very hard to get runs off, similar to what I had in the daylight. And then that second last lap, I got a little bit loose off 3-4. Dave got a good run. I could see what he was doing. He was trying to set it up, but I couldn't really get out wide just because the confidence I had in the rear of the car. But he did a phenomenal job, and he's been doing an amazing job all year. And first podium IndyCar is pretty hard to come by, especially on a short oval. He's done a really good job.
All right, there's one more clip that I want to play before I get y'all's feedback, because they had McLaughlin and Malukas on the stage. This is the post-race press conference at the same time, and they were hilarious together. Let's hear from those guys.
Through the race, I was doing the high line, but it was that last stint. I didn't do the high line till 2 to go. Well, I mean, like with McLaughlin at the end, with the tires starting to McLaughlin, sorry. Put me under pressure, man. Yeah, so where was I at? Yeah, so with the last stint, when the tires were getting old, that's when I wasn't really doing the high line because I didn't think it would be able to hold, which is my mistake because the Dale Coyne racing car was very good and it handled it with a breeze.
So you get up there and now you're sailing. Are you like, damn it, why did I wait so long?
Yeah, exactly. So I did that, and then Poncho's like, okay, go get him. It's last lap. I'm like, there's 2 corners left. He's too far. I was so yeah. No, it was a bit unfortunate. I did it so late, but I guess rookie season, rookie stuff, and I'm gonna put it in the back of my brain and remember it for next time.
Do you think if you'd had one more lap, you could have gotten Joseph?
Maybe not. I don't know. It's tough. He had the lap traffic. That's the only reason why I could really get to McLaughlin and Newgarden. So thank you. Yeah, it just almost feels better than getting second. So, but yeah, maybe a bit of a chance. Definitely, probably would have done some stupid thing to try to get really close to him. But I don't know. It's not like they weren't slow. I mean, they were really quick, and it would have been interesting.
If you're just listening on the radio, not on YouTube, he got a fist bump from McLaughlin just for pronouncing his name right.
Yeah, I have to say I really like the mix that we've got in IndyCar now. And I mean, when I say that mix, we started talking about Mario Andretti, and I think Mario would be the first to say what an environment of really good, talented youth and experience. You've got the Scott Dixons that absolutely are worthy to be talked about in the same breath as AJ and Mario, and then and Power, and to a certain extent, Newgarden. Yeah. These guys are really, really good, but so too are these likes of Malukas. We've hardly, we've been talking about American drivers. How many times have we talked about Malukas? Not very often, and yet he's a great character. He really did, in my mind, come of age yesterday. It was a great run, and he's fun. He sings.
He was singing.
He was singing.
He does have a very interesting personality. If you watch this whole press conference, he was very unusual. He's just a funny guy. I
got to ask Adam. I got to ask this. I don't know if you know, but he was singing. What was he singing?
Oh,
you spin me right round, because they were just doing circles and they were like on caution, and he starts singing and they were like, are you bored? And he's like, no. He goes, well, they were like, well, stop pushing. And they were like, oh. He goes, okay. Do you ever get bored? Do you ever sing?
No, I mean, I don't have that. I don't have that going on in there. Sometimes you can find like a rhythm of a song that kind of fits where you're at in a race or a certain racetrack. You kind of get that tune in your head, if you will. But no, nothing to that extent to where I actually was like, and I like to save my team from my singing voice.
I appreciate. Yeah,
I think that's the way to go. But
they don't want to be the 4-dimensional team, do they?
No, this young man, David Malukas, he's poised to win a race here very soon, and he's another future star. Dale Coyne always has a knack for finding that talent and fostering that talent. He gave Justin Wilson his first win in IndyCar, and these are things that you find in a man like Dale Coyne and the opportunities that he gives. And a lot of times he's been given a bad rep over the years, but he's fostered a lot of great talent in IndyCar, so you gotta tip your hat off to a man like Dale Coyne for that. And David Malukas is yet just another one on that hit. And Joseph Newgarden, my goodness, can you? That guy's like unstoppable at Gateway. I believe that was 3 or 4 in a row there for him, and he's the absolute man when it comes to those short ovals in particular. But Gateway, he just has a special, absolute knack for. So he's just really, really special around there. And for Malukas to really kind of put the shivers in him at the end, and to think that he was maybe another, mile and a half, 2 miles away from winning that if they had that extra time, that's a big deal for that little team. That is a David versus Goliath story, 100%.
Yeah. The other one I want to talk about, we just were watching him, Scott McLaughlin. I mean, it's as though he's one of the senior members of the Indy fraternity. I said to myself when Jimmy Johnson and he were doing the rookie tests, because they'd never done Indy, and the usual thing got thrown at Scott, which is, well, he's going to struggle on the ovals. Well, he doesn't struggle on the ovals. And he is, it's as though he's been there 10 years. I've always been a fan of Scotty, but I mean, he is in the groove.
It's really amazing how well he has done. You realize that he's in 6th place.
He could win the title.
Mathematically, he could. There's 2 races, right? And there's a 50-point. Yeah, he could mathematically win the title.
So I believe he was the one that was saying that where most of his oval experience came from was iRacing before he got into
iRacing,
this.
exactly
And
right.
that really served to prep him for these different ovals. And gosh, IndyCar on short ovals is just fun to watch.
Yeah,
I know. I was coming in this weekend. I was like, I don't know if I'm excited about the short oval. And I was thinking, wait, I have seen the short ovals and it's looked good. And I mean, this race was especially
anything
the last
shorter
after.
than that though doesn't excite me. I don't like Richmond. I don't like.
Yeah,
I'm talking about NASCAR now.
Yeah.
But the really really short ovals. I think it's hard for stock and Indy to go there. Dallas is again very short. But this one I quite like for that same reason. But I love the big ones, obviously.
Yeah.
Super speedways are great.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on to MotoGP
Oh yes.
at the Red Bull Ring.
Adam, you're up.
Yeah, Adam. First of all, let's talk. We're going to talk all about the American riders in Moto2, but let's talk about the race. Adam, what did you think overall?
Overall, Pecco made it kind of boring.
Yes.
But I do think that Fabio delivered the pass of the season.
Yeah.
Overall, the move he did on Jack Miller in the chicane there in 2B. It was absolutely spectacular the way you have to take advantage of the Ducati when he's on the Yamaha. It was more than just a pass and a risky move. When you look at the grand picture of things and where he has to make a move on a factory Ducati with the Achilles heel that is the straight line speed of the Yamaha, he's riding absolutely out of his skin, and it's really reminiscent of Marc Marquez in the Honda days when no one could hop on a Honda and go fast, but Marc Marquez could go win world championships on it with ease. And we're kind of seeing the same thing out of Fabio Quartararo. I don't think he's doing it with ease by any means. You could see how wore he was by the end of that deal. As he said, it was like 27 qualifying laps out there for him. But he is doing something on that Yamaha that nobody else that hiking their leg over it right now is even close to replicating.
And how, I mean, do you see potentially this Ducati era when, you look at qualifying and literally the top 5 bikes are Ducatis, and I know they've got, safety in numbers, as it were, and good talent on each of them. But are we beginning to see, just like Yamaha had an era and Honda seem to perennially have an era of dominance, are we going to see this now with Ducati?
You just may. They're definitely on a hot streak. They collect a lot of data on a weekend. When you have that many bikes on the racetrack, you are getting a lot of data back to the factory, and brilliant engineers pour through that data. And that's why I expected them to come back from the summer break just as strong as they were. Well, especially it goes to 2 pretty strong Ducati tracks as well. With Silverstone and Austria. It's these are places where the horsepower and the grunt of a Ducati and a Ducati, not only we talk about straight line speed all the time, but it is the most stable of the bikes under braking. When you put it under those hard straight line braking scenarios, and that's where we saw poor Alicia Spargo struggle all weekend long, was on that Aprilia, just straight line braking. It's the one Achilles heel that he said that's why he struggled there in COTA at our home Grand Prix for us. And we witnessed that. He was my pick for the Grand Prix of the Americas at Circuit of the Americas, and it just the Achilles heel of the Aprilia doesn't fit the track, and unfortunately the Red Bull Ring, it was the exact same case for him.
Did y'all see that Alonso was at the race?
Yes, I did, and I have to say, and Adam, I mean, Adam's living proof of it. Racing drivers at whatever level they are, they all look at MotoGP in complete and utter awe. And that goes for Michael Schumacher, Adam Andretti, anybody you want to mention, and of course Alonso. They love it. Lewis Hamilton, they've all had a go. And I think the sheer sort of what I would call the fact that there's so much more human input into a motorcycle, using their body, their legs, their ass, everything you want to talk about. I think that's, I don't know, Adam, would you agree that's what kind of gets you fired up about watching those guys?
Absolutely. No matter what, it's like, I don't even think, like, in my mind with where MotoGP is at with the era of bikes, with I don't like the arrow that's going on, and now we're starting to find an aero problem when you're in traffic and overheating the front tire. And so I don't think this is the best era as far as that goes for the bikes. It's the closest and most competitive, but it doesn't matter with the motorcycle racing for a true fan. I don't think, because of what you just said, Johnny Green, is you get to see how much effort these riders put in, and it is ultimate risk versus reward. Like, you know, when things go wrong on a motorcycle, they go wrong in a big way. I remember we were in the paddock last year for MotoGP at COTA, and you know, Kevin Schwantz was sitting there talking to Valentino Rossi, and Valentino pulls down his shorts to show his hip, and we had a hematoma, and he goes, and he goes, you know, at 23, not so bad. At 43, that's a big deal. And you get to realize what a great risk it is for these guys, that, because I don't even remember Valentino taking that big of a crash. He just had one low side. But, you know, it just shows you that even the slightest little hits that those guys take are huge. And then you look at like the big high side that Aleix had at Silverstone, and the fact that he hopped on and rode the rest of the weekend, you know, and rode such a courageous race, and was here this week at the Red Bull Ring, barely even limping anymore. You see Pedro Acosta and Moto 2 with the crushed femur, for crying out loud. These guys are on another level, and I think that's what draws us racers to it, as car racers, right? You know, I remember Adrian Newey telling me once, because he was Mario's engineer, he goes, you know, your uncle was the last tough racer I worked with. He goes, these guys nowadays, they get a hangnail and they got to go see their physio, and they got to, you know, go see a psychologist on it, and it's a really big deal. But he goes, you know, your uncle, you know, broke his ribs at Milwaukee, and a week later sat on the pole and won the race at Mid-Ohio, probably the most physical race we go to. And you know, so I think that kind of draws us to it. It gives us that fable of what a car racer used to be like. Motorcycle racers are still that brave.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I remember the story of Jorge Lorenzo at Assen. He was fighting for the championship, and he broke his wrist or shoulder. I can't remember what it was, but he flew back to Barcelona on the Saturday night after qualifying, got it installed, and came back and got major points. I think he was like just off the podium. Major.
He was. Yeah, like fourth or fifth, and it was a shoulder, I believe. It
was a shoulder, wasn't it? Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. You know, they have, what amazes me is they have the mental side and the touch that you feel, that you think of in like Formula One, right? The highest level of where, you know, it's down to 100,000ths of a second, but they're doing that all while they're manipulating their body all over the bike, and like Adam said, putting their life at risk all at the same time.
It's amazing. It really, truly is. I mean, you know, if you ever watch any of the documentaries on MotoGP, go to Netflix, go to Prime, whatever your go-to is, and watch some of the docos on, you know, on MotoGP, because they really give you a real insight of just about how special these guys are.
I was just looking at the results and a couple of stats they were talking about that I wrote down, like Pecco Bagnaia was second Ducati rider ever to win 3 in a row.
Stoner was the other one.
Yep.
Casey Stoner.
Stoner. And
which is rarefied air, I may add.
Yeah. And Ducati's leading the championship pretty good, right? I don't have those up. I do on another tab here. I think, well, Quartararo's ahead still with 200 points ahead of Espargaro, but Ducati, both Bagnaia and Zarco are 3rd and 4th, so they still are leading the championship from a constructors championship. But
you know,
what about Quartararo's race today, though?
Really good, really impressive. And as Adam said at the beginning, I mean, that overtake, I agree, was one of the best I've seen in a long time. And he was using the Yamaha. And anybody who's done any form of motorsport would agree with this. When you don't have the ultimate machine, you've got to use it where you can. So, you know, he was doing overtakes where he could, because at least if you can get me, you heard the commentators saying, well, they're going to catch him on the straights, and he knew that. So he had to brake there and then so that they wouldn't catch him and wouldn't slipstream past him. And I just loved all that. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I always love how when they start talking about how they change their own style to match the bike a bit. I mean, because that's not easy. I mean, doing it in cars and bicycles, I can't imagine doing that on a motorcycle at that 10/10ths.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears and talk a little Formula One in different ways. We're going to talk about the engine specs that are coming for 26. We're going to talk about the exciting news at Circuit of the Americas, all after this. You're listening to Speed City, back after this break.
Hi, this is Jeff Gordon, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, before we move on to Formula One, we got to talk Moto 2. We got 3 Americans in Moto 2. And so currently in the standings, Joe Roberts 5th, and Cameron Beaubier is 17th, and Sean Kelly 29th. But
Sean Dillon Kelly's just starting out. The other two obviously have got, well, Roberts has been around for a while. And Beaubier over here has been around for a while, but he's learning Moto 2. So actually, those positions kind of show their experience. And they're absolutely on, in my mind, on track for where they need to be to get to where they want to be, which is MotoGP, and representing at the Schwantz and, Rainey level.
Adam, you were talking during the break how the Moto 2 riders just kind of cooled off after the summer break.
Yeah, I mean, the Americans did. I was looking for them to come back because they really went into the summer break with some momentum, and I was looking for them to come right back out of it with that same kind of momentum, and they just didn't hit the stride. And I've been seeing this kind of pattern in Moto 2. Italtrans was where you see our American Joe Roberts. Where he's racing and now, and they were the team to beat with Enea Bastianini on there, and then Enea moved on to MotoGP. Joe took in that seat. They really struggled last year in 2021. They started again and it looked like they were catching their stride, and they get back from the summer break and they've been struggling these last 2 weekends. I think he managed a 13th place today. Joe did, with Cameron Beaubier right behind him in 14th, but I've been really surprised by that. Sean Dillon Kelly, to echo what Johnny was saying, is he's right on target. When you talk to Hopper, he says just that. He's doing exactly the program we need him to be on. He shows some speed in areas, and he showed some speed throughout the weekend at Silverstone and just before the break, and so he does have these glimmers that they love seeing. And but yeah, I was really kind of bummed out to see that they didn't have a better showing. I was especially like we were discussing earlier, especially waiting to see that Joe Roberts would do really good this weekend at the Red Bull Ring, because it's like that, like his kind of track. Yeah. He's a Red Bull rider by contract, and I was really expecting to see really strong things out of him, but he just wasn't his weekend, unfortunately.
Well, we are hoping that these guys can continue. If we look at what Joe Roberts has done just last year, year before, to where he is now, you never know, we could get him into MotoGP, the highest level. So we will see. All right, guys, we're going to move on. We've got some questions from YouTube. Let's check Facebook too, but YouTube, Andy P says he's going back to IndyCar, but he says Malukas needed like 5 more laps.
Yeah,
he's right. He said, but man, he said the number 2 was on another stratosphere on those fresh tires.
Ask Andy P how many drivers Zach's going to sign in the next few weeks.
I think you just asked him.
Ouch.
Did you hear what Pato O'Ward said?
Which statement?
Oh my word! I tell you what, as a signed driver too, Zach Brown as McLaren, he was laughing at the Formula One debacle, and was quite happy to get on Twitter and say, "Oh, I can't believe he's taken on all these drivers. Yeah, it's laughable."
Yeah. Well,
hey,
the joke was that he's doing it so the other teams can't compete.
That's it. He's going to have all the drivers.
Wesman has a question for Adam. He says, "Adam, do you think there will ever be an Andretti team in F1 one day?"
Aha.
It won't be for lack of effort. I can say that they're trying very, very hard to make Andretti Global a reality, and obviously it needs to carry out the support of the competitors and the FIA, and that's the only thing really standing in the way. So we're all in favor of it. I know me as carrying the namesake, it'd be an honor to have us on that scale, and I know Michael works really, really hard at it. I got to see him for just a moment in Nashville, and honestly, we didn't even get to discuss anything about business. We were just really excited to see each other as family, and because we don't get to see each other that often because of our schedules. But keep your eyes peeled. I know the support's there, and keep showing that support, because that goes a long way. With that, and I know there's plenty of support within that paddock too. If they could break through the barriers that have been already somewhat exposed, then I think we could see Andretti Global become a reality.
I like the way you use that, because we had a long discussion in last week's show about the power
Every
of what
week.
Mario said, which was the power of Toto Wolff, and is it too much? And finally somebody said it, but because he's quite happy to say, oh, Porsche and Audi, yeah. Oh, wait, are they German manufacturers? We'd love to have them in, but I'm not so sure we need another American team. It shows you the power.
And that's the difference is, they're going to buy into existing teams, and this is a whole new effort, and they're trying to. I think that's being looked at differently, but nonetheless, it should be taken with some seriousness. It would add depth to the field. It would be another area, another seats open for talented drivers. And I think the bigger picture of it all is, I think Christian Horner said it best, is you have to really look at what would increase. It would bring more revenue to these teams to have an Andretti Global on the grid, and to have two more exceptional talents out there representing world of motorsport, and that's really what it's about. And if you look at it narrow-minded, then yeah, you can make it look kind of ugly. But if you open up your eyes to a broadened picture of it, really the 10 teams that exist on the grid stand to gain a great deal from having an addition of Andretti Global.
Adam, we've been saying that. How many times have I said that, Les?
Yeah, I think there's
every show since this was.
I think there's a bit of intimidation that the Andretti name brings with it.
To be honest, the problem is, and it goes all the way down to Gunter Steiner, is that this is not another Marussia. This is not another Caterham. They're going to come in and go, we need to be Alpine. We need to be third right off the bat. We need to be right up there. And I think that's Michael's style. I mean, he doesn't go in to make up numbers, does he?
Right.
No, absolutely not. And there's been this discussion has really opened up a lot of wonderful areas of discussion for Formula One too, to discuss customer cars and things like that, to where they can expand the grid even more. It's something the MotoGP has done to great success, right?
Yeah.
Good point. In the customer bike program with you see out there. I mean, you have satellite teams in MotoGP that are seriously competitive.
Correct.
And winning races and winning multiple races, and that's not something that we have up there in Formula One, and it would just make it would just again spread the wealth a little bit more and make it more exciting. But there is a man like Toto Wolff who's not used to being beat, and has enjoyed quite a bit of success at the pointy end of the grid, and he struggled for the first time since he's been at his at the helm of Mercedes AMG. And so I think a lot of that is him trying to hold on to what he's got going on there too.
It's a good point. It's funny, that analogy you make is, if AlphaTauri were beating Red Bull every weekend, it would be a big problem. But if Pramac win, it's not a problem. It's Ducati winning.
Right.
Well, let's transition.
That's the big difference.
Yeah, let's transition to this news story that came out, that where Formula One has released a lot of details about the 2026 power unit. And it's really been a fascinating read. But the big thing, like I said at the top of the show, is that I'm worried, because back a year and a half ago when they started talking about...
As they say that in my theater class, play that out.
You are wearing a salmon shirt.
I am. So. Salmon. Some would say pink.
So I'm completely off track. Oh, yeah. I was talking about the 2026 Formula One power unit. And I'm worried because, first of all, they said that the V6 is basically going to stay the same, except become a lot less powerful, right? Right now, we're at 1,000 horsepower, roughly. They always say 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
Most of that is from the internal combustion V6. Well, in 26, they're going to have a 470 horsepower battery, engine, actually. And it's amazing how small the engine is. I saw a graphic of it, and it's not very big, and it's 469 horsepower. So that means way less horsepower out of the engine. The engine's now down to like about the same, roughly 475 or 480. But they've removed the MGU-H, on the turbo side.
Right.
So we're going to get less throttle response. Now, you would say, Les, I know you're going to say, well, you don't need it because you've got a much bigger electrical power, right? You got instant torque and all that. But what they're saying is that because you're going to be making less power from the motor, you're going to get less sound. You may get less RPMs.
Yep.
And nothing new and no emotive at all. You know,
Formula E.
Well, hey, you know what? It's a lot closer to Formula E because they're talking about how the new.
You knew that was coming, but no, it's going to be different. We're going to put cards in the wheels.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that this is. I'm worried about this, and let me just run down some of the things they say that are the key points. They're saying it's going to be fully sustainable fuels, right? So
that's good.
That's great. That's fantastic. But you could run a 2,000 horsepower V12 on sustainable fuels. So, but we're going to have, like I said, more power, more electric power, less internal combustion. Still 1,000 horsepower. Better safety. You know, how they have the rules about when the mechanics can approach the car. We're going to have all that stuff self-contained, the battery and the power unit and the electrical side. So all that's going to be good. Lower cost and some standardized components like spec components, which I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Because,
and that's gonna tighten the field by proxy in terms of having to spend the money. Because that's the problem with the smaller teams. They don't have as much as the bigger teams to spend money. So a combination of the cap and some, you know, like you say, reasonable parts that are uniform, and also, you know, the ways of looking at not making it, because it's like building a rocket. I mean, you know, you add infinitum depending on what you do, but I think they should do exactly that.
And the last of the items are the dyno hours will be constrained. They talk about how. I don't know if I really agree with this. And they said tougher challenge for the drivers because, for one, they say they're not going to have the throttle response because the MQH is gone. But you got a 500 horsepower electric motor that has torque as soon as you touch the throttle.
It'll be different.
So we'll see. Bottom line is that they're saying F1 is committed to keeping more materials above ground. It targets environmentally responsible a future. It's a recycling option will be mandated for batteries. All these things. I'm all for all of that, but I wanted more emotive, and I'm just worried about that it's going towards Formula E more. It's moving that direction quite a bit.
All righty. You know, a few years ago, there was a racing company, put a platform out, and they actually piped audio sound back into the
Porsche. No, BMW.
Audi.
Verstanden durch Technik.
Now. Go full circle. Who's trying to get in here?
Yeah, Porsche and Audi.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I mean, okay.
Wait a minute, let him finish the story.
A little bit more of a tidbit.
Go on then.
It was revealed that Porsche has bought 50% of Red Bull Technologies.
Yes.
Well,
and so you've got all of these swirling, slide knobs that are driving to another power unit.
Coming to the grid. I'm English.
Yeah, coming to the power unit. Yeah, the powered unit coming to the grid, driving towards technology. I think Porsche was a big sway in pushing that direction as well as, the environmental concerns. Porsche is extremely successful in that environment. The 918, 919.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of these.
The point is all the things that F1 has done, these were on the Porsche Audi VW checklist.
Yeah.
So, in other words, have they customized this for
them
Porsche
to come
Audi?
in?
Adam, what do you think about all this?
It cracks me up because Red Bull, right? I mean, it used to be Red Bull Infinity, and then it was Red Bull Aston Martin, and then it was Red Bull Honda, and now it's going to be. It sounds like Red Bull Porsche.
Yep.
They can't make up their mind.
Tag Heuer or Tag. I mean, all these things. I just think Christian Horner's pretty good at saying who's got the big checkbook right now, wants to shell it out, and we'll make the best of it. But
do you think he'll do the same with the Spice Girls, Horner?
Right? Yeah. No, that's what I hear. Yeah, sucks him in for a lifetime. But I mean, it's one of those deals where. I think this is going to be a longer marriage, obviously, than what we've seen the other. The other were more commercial deals. This is a technical partnership, and I mean, is there a better brand in cars, a better car brand to get involved with in motorsports than Porsche? I don't think so. I mean, they take it to the next level and everything that they do. You could see, I mean. In the LMDH program that they got going on with Penske, they were the first to have a car done on track testing it. And I mean, I'm talking like 6 to 8 months ago, they were doing that. And like BMW and their competitors just got on the track maybe a month or two ago. And now you're trying to catch Penske and Porsche. And now, I think that's what will scare a lot of the powers of Formula One too. Is you're going to watch the power of Red Bull with the power of Porsche. It's going to be a pretty spectacular combination, I think. And I just think that the rest of the paddock there is just begging Adrian Newey to retire.
Yes, yeah, and go and join NASA.
Well, unless you and I we've been a big fan of Porsche coming in.
Yeah,
but I'm just worried all this about what they've done if they're placating to Porsche and Audi to do this. I want more emotive.
Here's
my
what
emotive?
I want. Here's what I want out of it. Okay, yes, it's getting smaller. There's bigger, bigger displacement or bigger torque out of the engines. But let's open up the exhaust. Let's let them run to 13.5 again.
Yeah, or
I,
higher. Yeah, higher the better.
I just think that what they've got to do, Formula One, for the future is be careful that they don't lose touch with what made them as important as they are as a sport, which is production racing, production cars. So in other words, we had a few years ago, we had a time where really there wasn't a lot of relevance besides Ferrari in Formula One. Yes, you had engine manufacturers, and you, as Adam just pointed out, you had the emblem of Nissan or Aston Martin, but they were nowhere near as an actual company. So I think this is a good having Porsche and Audi as part of Formula One and having technology that is relatable, because that's where Formula E have stolen a march. I don't like Formula E. I've said it all along. I'm not a fan, but they have got the manufacturer back up, because that's the way the industry's going. We're going to be driving electric cars. We are driving electric cars. The future is that way, and technology and Formula One have always been in line, and they've got to maintain that. So these rules do show that they are making an effort to be, as promised, sustainable, a non-carbon a non-carbon footprint as much as they can in a sport that's almost impossible to do so.
What were you going to say, Adam?
No, it's gonna have a lot of carbon fiber, but no, but absolutely, no, I agree too, and my thing is here, I don't. It's Formula One to me. I look at it differently. I don't think it should be so constrained to this is the package. It's Formula One, and to move forward in a society with as many people we're gonna have driving cars, we need to say alternative fuels. So I don't care if your Porsche want to come in all electric, you can come in all electric into Formula One, that's fine. But if you want to come in with a hybrid system, you can come in with a hybrid system. But here's the thing, here's the box you have to build in. And this would be my vision. And what I think would make it would be so great and so attractive is the box you build it in is just that, Johnny, the carbon footprint. You can only lay this kind of carbon footprint. You can only dig this much earth up to build the battery to run your electric car. You can only put this much, CO2 back into the planet, into the atmosphere. When you were building that box, now all of a sudden we would get a huge advancement in all our automobiles and all our modes of transportation. But when we make them, everyone's got to build the same hybrid package. Everyone's got to build the same.
There's no development.
To me, I think it's just very constricted to some of the most creative minds on this planet that could advance us so much faster if they were given kind of a bigger box to play in. And that's where I get kind of frustrated with our rules makers and all of motorsports, is we want to sit inside these smaller boxes when, like the Indianapolis 500, that was what that was about. It was about innovation. You brought, the turbine cars, diesel cars. They had electric cars there at one point, believe it or not. It was all about innovation, and that went away as it started to be built inside a box. Now it's completely spec racing, except for you can pick a Honda or a Chevrolet engine. And so I think, me personally, I would like to see motorsports take a different, more responsible approach towards our future and start being more relevant, like you said, Johnny Green. But the best way to be that way is to open up to all the alternative fuels. Let's see who builds the baddest package out there and who propels it the best.
You're absolutely right. I still think I think the public wants right now their supercars to be hybrids. I think they want them to have internal combustion engines, but like a 918 or a LaFerrari, the next generation of all that. You talk about, Adam, all the different ways to do it. What about that? What was it, a McMurtry at Goodwood, that fan car? I know that, but we all got totally flipped out about that car because it was something different. And I think that if we did have the ability to say, all right, you can use batteries, or you can use graphene supercapacitors. You can use whatever you want to use to make all that. But
I got one other thing. It can't be the size of a new Ford F-150 like Lewis Hamilton's car.
yeah.
You can't park those in downtown London.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got to sneak a break in. When we come back, we're going to talk about the cool stuff that happened at COTA this week. You're listening to Sunday Night with Speed City. Back after this.
Hi, this is Max Verstappen, and you're listening to Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, so COTA announced this week that they were putting a new grandstand, and for the first time, it's an infield grandstand.
It's really cool.
And they put tickets on. It was 6,000 seats, and it's on the. It's just between 6 and 7 on the infield side.
First one in the infield.
Yeah, first time they've ever had a grandstand on the infield, and they have 6,000 seats. They put them up for sale, and they were averaging about 800 for a 3-day pass, maybe even more than maybe 850. And
no kidding.
They sold out in a matter of hours. Wow. Continued amazing momentum of Formula One.
I would sit in the top right of that, because you could look back and see the back straight.
Yeah.
You could also have a great spot for the concert.
Yeah, we're showing it on YouTube, so if anybody's
But also, that is one of the best views, because you're looking directly at them coming towards you, zigzagging through the S's under the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're right. I mean, I wonder how much of you could see the clearly you could see up turns 1, but what about 12 and stuff?
You probably could, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're right at the
top.
top.
We had some good comments on YouTube. Andy P. replied, Jonathan. He said, I can answer Jonathan's question like this. I'm not driving for them. I like the 4 of y'all. That's 5 down. Beyond that, no clue. Dixon Smith says, I wish you just had a racing series where there's actually development of EV batteries. It seems like it's always a stock battery pack. Basically, that's what I just said, true. Dixon, about graphene supercapacitors, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Thanks to Old Timer, he threw us a buck for just for
that's
grins.
6. He's up now. Wow, down.
And Jesse Mesa says, "I'll be in the grandstand!" Exclamation. He says, after 9 years of GA tickets, it'll be my first ticket with a seat for F1. He said it felt surreal getting a seated ticket to a sold-out event. Thank you, COTA. That's awesome,
That
Jesse.
is awesome.
Nice.
And
Congratulations.
don't forget, they're also, if all of you who have had woes in the past are thinking, oh, but what about the traffic? Well, they're adjusting that too.
Okay, I want to. Oh, one last thing before we leave the COTA topic.
Well, talk about that road.
Elroy Road.
Yeah.
They have widened Elroy Road. Now, have you been out, Les?
Not recently.
Okay.
They just opened it recently.
Well,
and I didn't go that direction.
Obviously, that's been one of the problems with COTA is trying to get. They're outside the city of Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have the resources of the city to, if it were in the middle of the city like Austin FC or whatever, access would be created. Well, they've had to struggle to get access. We've all been stuck out in parking lots out there.
Oh, yeah.
Bless you.
So they've added a...
that is not how we do things in the city of Austin.
All right, okay.
They've widened the road. It's 5 lanes now, where that was a 2-lane road.
Yep.
So hopefully that could make a pretty dramatic impact, because it's a pretty good stretch of road.
Can we do a drag strip?
So it'll be just as wide as FMA 812 was, which was the primary exit off of 130 and headed that from the west side of the property.
All right, guys, I have a clip from Jimmy Fallon.
Okay.
That if you haven't heard this, it's fan-freaking-tastic. What's the actress's name? Eve Hewson. And I don't know her, but she's gorgeous. But we're just going to play the audio of this. But she's talking about how during the pandemic she was stuck watching Drive to Survive.
I've seen this.
Okay, let's play this audio. It's great.
There's a show on Netflix called Drive to Survive. During the pandemic, I didn't really do anything, obviously, like everyone else.
Yeah.
But I watched this show, and
Drive to Survive?
Drive to Survive on Netflix. It follows all the drivers, the Formula One drivers. I never cared about sports before, by the way. And now I'm completely hooked. They're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's like a boy band kind of thing. You follow their lives. Also, one of the team principals, the boss of Red Bull, is married to Jerry Horner, who's a Spice Girl.
Oh, yeah,
So
Jerry.
there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. And so actually, Brad Pitt is making a Formula One movie.
Yeah.
And I have the same manager as Brad Pitt, Flex.
Okay, now we're getting
So
somewhere.
I was at dinner with my manager, and I was obviously talking about it, and she was like, "Oh, he's making a movie about it," and I was like, "Get Brad Pitt on the phone right now." And she called him.
She did.
And I said, "I will do anything in this movie. I will have one line. I will be in the pit crew. I will do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I've got to be in this film."
And I'm obsessed with Formula One. Yeah.
Obsessed. And he said, "I'm such a fan. I watched Behind Your Eyes twice. You're in it, kid."
What? That's how you make stuff happen.
Yeah.
That's hustle, baby.
Man,
There you go.
but how many times has that story played out
Yeah.
in the United States and elsewhere over
Yeah.
the last 2 years?
Ron
Just-
Howard, honestly kind of started that
Yeah.
in the most
Yeah.
recent generation. And
Yeah.
it was so much fun that he really entrenched himself in it to learn it.
Well, anyway, I had to play
and
that.
NASCAR reaped a similar, influx after a pretty famous movie called Days of Thunder hit theirs.
Yep.
And
Yep.
a really famous guy named Tom Cruise did that movie. And, that all of a sudden, then all of a sudden you had this young star of Jeff Gordon who had this, kind of, Tom Cruise-esque about him, was all of a sudden in this limelight. So, I hope Formula One fosters this growth properly and does the right things with it, because when you look at it, is the influx of fan base that we've received in Formula One. They're not the purist, right? They're not so they could be here today, gone tomorrow. And that's the only thing that makes me nervous about this influx of fans coming from a Drive to Survive, is they really have to foster them to keep them involved and to keep them enriched in the sport, or else this could be, unfortunately, kind of a flash in the pan. The flash in the pans can last, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I hope they get a good long life out of this. And
Adam, this is exactly what we said last week about the Andretti Global F1. That's just what I said. I said, we need to keep all these new American fans, and an Andretti F1 team is the way to do it. That's what I said last week on the show. Guys, we are out of time. Andretti.
You just got to hope that they don't do a soccer comedy show
Like
with Americans, with somebody like Jason Sudeikis or something like that, because that would ruin Drive to Survive's popularity.
Adam Andretti, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. We really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck in the rest of the Trans Am season, too.
Thank you guys so much. I love your support, and thank you to the fans out there that tune in. We appreciate you, and proud to be a part of the Speed City broadcast team always. And anytime you want me back, I'll make sure I make my Sunday available for you.
All right.
All righty.
Thanks,
Awesome,
Adam.
Adam.
All right, talk to everybody next week. Formula One is back next week, Sunday morning.
Ciao, y'all.
Happy trails.